afternoon, Mr. Gelber. How are you?
Well, it's rather chilly this morning, but seeing it's warming up for the weekend, hopefully. The one thing you can't manage is the weather. Talking of management, has everybody paid the rent this month? Oh, I remember my dear father. He was a great rent collector. His tenants called him Jaime Boy, but they always paid the rent. The one thing I can always remember him saying, whatever the excuse they come up with, I'm sorry to hear that, but you must pay the rent. Oi, was he a great rent collector? Oh, the day he died, he was still collecting the rent. The day he died. He was one of 11. Imagine having to feed 11 little mouths. She was a very large woman. She had a very big appetite. But she was happy, always busy. Oh, 11 kids and the rent to pay. Oh, where was I? Oh yes, the rent, Mr. Hannison.
Well, not bad. Only 2 haven't paid the rent.
Only 2? Only 2? It might be only 2 to you, but these rents are my lifeblood. Say I like my children, these properties. This is very serious, Mr. Hannison. Once they stop, they will never start again. Tell them that the government will help them and they must pay the rent. Now, about your statement you sent me this month, Mr. Hannison, about the new tenant on the 2-bedroom in the High Road, yeah? He wanted a new fridge. Mr. Hannison, I must tell you that I had that fridge for 15 years and it's never gone wrong once. It's a Frigidaire. A very good make. Very reliable. I see you bought the reconditioned one for £89, including VAT. You could have bought one on eBay for half that price. I must stress, Mr. Hannison, that anything over £50, you must get my permission. Money doesn't grow on trees, you know. Talking of trees, Mr. Hannison, I see from the statement again that one of those tenants wanted a lawnmower. I've never heard of such a thing. This tenant always wants new things. This is the same tenant I remember 3 years ago. He wanted a new wardrobe. What was wrong with the old one? It's been in that flat for 10 years. How can it fall to pieces? Please keep a close eye on this tenant. If he is so keen on gardening, he can buy his own lawnmower. He can take it with him when he leaves.
Fine, I agree with you. These tenants are liberty takers. We are trying our best. It's difficult times.
Difficult times? Difficult times? My dear old parents, they worked themselves into the ground. They never complained. They didn't have time. Always busy. To their last breath they were working. My wife is also a grafter and very organised. Every Monday she checks my bank statements. You can't trust these banks. You can't trust them. Well, I have 10 different bank accounts, not to mention 6 different building society accounts. It takes most of the day, her day. And on Tuesdays, she checks my portfolio of shares. I am no Warren Buffett. Oh, what such a clever man, a genius. This horrible virus is like from the Old Testament. It's a plague. It's a plague on my shares, a plague on my properties. I've lost a fortune. Things were so good. Now I can't sleep. I wake up at 4:30 every morning, but I am planning ahead. Remember the old expression, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It's lucky I have a good sense of humour. On Wednesdays, we go together to Plain Cross. When we get there, we get a free coffee from Waitrose, and then we take it to Patisserie Valerie until lunchtime. And Mrs. Gelber always prepares cheese and tomato sandwiches on plain white bread, and we eat it there. We always eat about 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, she is a woman with a strict regime. However, on the odd occasion, we do spoil ourselves and we buy a chocolate muffin. Obviously, we share it between ourselves, but very expensive. £2.80 for one muffin. For 1 month in £2. You could get a meal in the McDonald's for that. Where was I? On Thursday, she checks the values of my ISAs. We thank God that they were sound investments. I will be 89 next week. My dear wife was 85. Never had been ill, touch wood. We are like brother and sister. We didn't want children. Too expensive. I was reading the other day how much it costs to bring up one child. £200,000, Mr. Hanson, £200,000. Oh, just imagine the properties. I could have bought 3 properties for that amount. And then on Fridays, you know, I come to your office every Friday afternoon for 2 hours and we go over all my properties. Then Friday evening, Mrs. Gelber and I, we go to synagogue. I would recommend it to you. It is very spiritual. Mrs. Gelber says I'm very spiritual. Yes, I suppose I am, really. I pray every day, morning and evening. I pray for my properties. I pray for my tenants. And of course, I pray for Mrs. Gelber so she can carry on her good works. We have been married 55 years. 55 years. Never argued. Never argued at all. She's a lady. Don't know what I would do without her. Her father was also in properties. He and his family had a number of roads in East London. So many properties. Never had a void period. An amazing man. He taught me to buy properties. He used to say at the dinner table, save as houses. He died of a heart attack a few years ago. He died in his accountant's office, signing off his year end. He was only 78. We still miss him to this very day. What a memory. He remembered every tenant's first name and the kids' first names. Oh, also a very spiritual man. Well, it's at the time I must be going soon. So remember, Mr. Hanson, everyone must pay their rents. No excuses. If not, they must leave. Oh, the sun has come out now. Oh, I always like to go for a stroll to synagogue on Friday before the Sabbath. Our rabbi is a very learned man. Believe it or not, he also has a portfolio of properties. Clever man. He gets his daughters to collect the rent and his wife looks after them. Well, keep well, God bless, and to see you next Friday.